What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Movies That Make You podcast, where movies are more than just entertainment. They're a catalyst for meaningful conversation. I'm Jonathan Sprang, and I go by Sprang, and most weeks we dive into movies to watch in preparation for a new release hitting theaters. But we don't stop there. We talk about the morals, the values, and the life lessons these movies have to offer. This week, we've got The Strangers Chapter 2 Prepisode. We watched The Strangers Pray at Night, and The Strangers Chapter 1. And I are going to be talking about those movies. They each had their own little flair to it, and we kind of dug it. So looking forward to the new one. We hope you'll go check out our website. It's bio.site/movies that make you. There you'll find all of our links to all of our social media channels on YouTube, Instagram, and elsewhere. You can also find our podcast links to Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can also check out our letterbox, which shows you all of our lists on the movies that make you laugh, the movies that make you cry, the movies that make you scream, and everything in between. Before we dive into this week's episode, though, let's take a look at the next 4 weeks on the Movies That Make You podcast. Next week, we're going to be doing an episode called More Than the Fight. I've invited my good friend Nick Hot Coals Shepherd to be back on the show as we talk about 3 different fighting dramas, The Wrestler, The Fighter, and Warrior, all to gear up for The Smashing Machine hitting theaters that week. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson taking his stab at an A24 film, heavy drama, looks to be amazing. The week after that, we're going to be talking about Tron, the original classic with Jeff Bridges, and also Tron Legacy that was released just a few years ago. All that because we've got Tron Ares hitting theaters that Friday with Jared Leto, and Jeff Bridges is back. So we really like that. We really like the Legacy, but a lot of people didn't. But we're going to have a discussion around it anyways. We hope you'll join us. The week after that, we've got Scott Derrickson films. I've got a good friend of mine, J.R. Foresteros, from the Don't Split Up podcast and other things as well. You'll hear more about that on the episode, I'm sure. But he's a huge fan of Scott Derrickson. We've got Black Phone 2 dropping in theaters that Friday. So we're going to discuss his filmology and just kind of see what speaks to us through his films. What is he trying to say through his film? So looking forward to that conversation. The week after that, we've got the top 5 scary movies from the kids. We'll have watched some scary movies. We've watched some scary movies the last few years. We're watching a bunch in October. So we're going to have the boys walk down their top 5 scariest movies that they like. Hope those episodes excite you. So without further ado, let's get to the podcast. We are back with another episode of the Movies That Make You podcast. I am Jonathan Sprang, and I am joined by my lovely wife, Kristen. How's it going, babe?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. We are here to talk about Strangers. We're going to talk about The Strangers. We're going to talk about The Strangers Pray at Night and The Strangers Chapter 1. All of that because Strangers Chapter 2 is dropping this Friday. And I think we're kind of looking forward to it a little bit. We'll see how the conversation goes today. But before we jump into that, we like to do what we call mustard.
And catch up.
That's a little, because we're going to catch up. That's right. So tell us a little bit, Kristen, how's your week been?
Week's been great. Everything's been rocking and rolling. School is in full swing. Work, working every day. Leia's just been a hot mess. I've been doing a 2-mile run every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm not a runner, so I've been pushing myself. But I'm feeling really good about it. And just starting to 1% better every day is my goal.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Starting to get it. How about you?
Yeah, good. I'm super proud of you for doing that. I know the mornings are not your fun time. Like, you really don't like to get up, but you've been getting up to take Connor to track or to cross country, and you just decided, I'm going to go ahead and get a little run in. So that's good.
If he can do it, I can do it.
You're doing that for a reason, right?
Yes. So I am competing in the Spartan race. I'm going to do the sprint, which is a 5K, but then there's also 20 obstacles in it. So it's more of kind of like a challenge, a CrossFit. A lot of CrossFit people do it, but then a lot of just different gyms. It's just something fun to challenge yourself with if you're an adult. They do have kid races too, but this is something that I like to work towards so that I kind of have a goal, even though fitness and health overall is my goal. This is more of like a competition for myself.
Yeah, totally. I went to your first Spartan race. You and your best friend Jesse did a Spartan race, and by the end of it, everybody was, you guys were walking.
Yeah,
so
it
I
wasn't
guess
too
it was,
bad.
yeah. So you were still alive, And then the last thing you had to jump over was a flaming, like a flame, a low flame that was like a foot tall. And you were not excited about that, were you?
I didn't know about it. And Jesse was like, "You didn't know there was I said, "No, I didn't know I was jumping over." I was like, "I could smell fire somewhere."
Yeah.
But now I know. I pulled
But
up the
you,
list of all the obstacles, so I am getting prepared.
yeah, I can just imagine though, like going through all of the different obstacles that you had to go through and like just being worn out and just like ready to be done. Cause that was a 10K, right?
No, that was just a 5K.
Was it? Oh, okay. I thought
Yeah.
you guys did a longer one last time.
No,
No.
the last time we did, but the very
Yeah.
first time when you were
Oh,
there.
okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. The other one, you weren't there.
Okay.
Yeah, because that was in San Antonio. Because I drove down and did it with Jessie and her friend out there. And that was a 10K with like 50 obstacles. That won't be happening probably ever again.
Yeah.
But I know what I can handle. And I'll do the best I can within that.
Yeah. I can imagine though, even at the end of the 5K, like just being like so done and so over it. And then you're like, wait, I have to run and jump over a flame over fire.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's so
It
funny.
was it was something.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for it. Should be good.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited for you. That should be fun. And you're going to just drive up and drive back same day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only
Okay.
about an hour away.
Cool. Well, I'll hold
Okay.
down the fort here. We'll figure out something to do with ourselves. I don't know if we'll have any movies to watch. You know, we're kind of running out of movies.
Yeah,
Because
I
we watched
know
so
it.
many.
We've seen
Yeah.
so many.
Yeah. Uh, but no, for me, this week's been good. Work's been going good. Excited about some new projects that are happening. Finally getting some momentum in some of those. So that's going to be fun. And then we had our live stream last week. And so that was super fun. Um, I think it's a couple weeks since that was when we aired this episode, but, it was a lot of fun. I think the boys had a lot of fun with it. We had some guests, or in the chat, and some new friends in the chat. So that was fun too. Very excited. I mean, it was funny because I felt myself in the live stream like trying to do a lot of promotion because it was like it just felt natural to like say, hey, if you're watching live, like, hey, here's things you can go back and watch. Like we did this episode and we did that episode, and we've been going for nearly 2 years now. It's gonna be 2 years in November. And so we've got a lot of good episodes, and some of those movies come up on regular conversation on the podcast. So it's fun to kind of take that time to promote it. But also having some of those folks joining in the chat that we've had as guests, being able to promote like, hey, they were on this episode, go check it out. Or a lot of them are going to be on an upcoming episode in a couple weeks for the Predator. So that one's going to be a fun one too. That one's going to be a big one with 5 guests, or at least five
Total.
talkers. 3 guests added on to our duo. So that's going to be fun. But yeah, work is good too. Like I said, projects wrapping up, and then new bigger projects coming into the stream. So it's pretty exciting stuff there.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
great.
So I did want to jump into some other things before we jump into the movies proper. The Strangers series says it's based off of true events, and it basically centers around people that are at home, and then these three strangers show up: Scarecrow or Man in the Mask. Sometimes they're called different things in the synopsis, but then Pinup Girl and Dollface are the other two, and they just show up and start terrorizing a couple or more, and then kill them just for the sake of doing it. So I thought it would be fun to take a look at some other home invasion movies that are in the horror genre as well, as a way of kind of kicking off the conversation. So I pulled up a list, and actually you can find this list on our Letterboxd. I titled it "Movies that Make You Check the Locks on the Doors," right? Movies that make you check the locks, because when you're watching a movie like this, it's like, I know I've got the doors locked, but let me just pause real quick and go make sure that the doors are locked.
We're just going to double check.
We're just going to double check. So it's called Movies That Make You Check the Locks. But let's just kind of walk through this. And I know I've seen a few of these, and there are some that I haven't seen. But the first one on the list is called Panic Room. This one is directed by David Fincher and stars Jodie Foster and a young Kristen Stewart. And Jared Leto, Forrest Whitaker are the invaders. Have you seen this movie?
I feel like we've watched it, but I think it was like towards the early part of our relationship, and I'm not remembering all the details, but I do recall seeing it.
Okay. I can't remember the last time I saw it. It may have been one of those that kind of slipped in and just, it's not bringing memories to me on that, that we watched it, but maybe we did.
We may
We were
not have,
watching,
and I may have
yeah.
just, I don't know
No,
if I
it's
saw it on a
fine. Yeah.
cover.
Yeah. It's good. Basically it's a mother and daughter and they're in the house and they have a really high tech panic room. And so when these invaders try to come rob them, they get inside it and then they're stuck in there for a good bit of the night, trying to figure out how do we escape, how do we call the cops, like all that stuff. So
Okay,
it's
no, I
kind of
have
like
not seen that.
okay. So it must have been something else. Panic at the Disco. I don't know, but but yeah. So it's a fun movie, in the sense of like there's some good fear factor. There's some good thrillerness to it. It's David Fincher, so it's kind of already with him as the director makes me like want to watch it. And I don't remember being wowed by it necessarily, but it was still a solid movie and it looked pretty and it was well directed and things like that. So next one on the list is a movie called Funny Games. I know we haven't seen this. I've only seen it once, but it's very much like The Strangers. It's basically this couple is in their vacation home, like out on a lake or something, and these two dudes show up and like want to like hang out. So they let them hang out for a while, and then over the course, it just gets a little bit more weird, and then they end up like basically saying, "Yeah, we want to kill you." And so that's kind of the way that and actually, it's the one I saw was American remake, so with Naomi Watts and I think Ewan McGregor, but I might be wrong on that. But yeah, Funny Games. It's on the list to rewatch at some point because it's I remember liking it, and it's a kind of a smaller movie. But
Anytime a bunch of, you're out camping, and honestly, like when you're camping and you're, well, not at like a VRBO, but if you're camping, that's kind of a normal thing. It's like people will just kind of walk around. You find people that have similar interests. I mean, you're obviously all outside, like roughing it. So
yeah,
it's not
exactly.
too odd, but if you're in kind of a remote area and then two people walk up, I think I'd be a little more leery than, hey, come on
Yeah,
in.
for sure. And I can't remember exactly. I think they could have introed it like, because it's not just, they aren't renting the house. I think they own it. It's just their vacation home. So they know the neighbors. So I think that was kind of like the intro. Oh yeah, we're nephews of this person. Oh, okay. Yeah. Come on in. It's kind of like that. Maybe I can't remember. It's been a while, but, I do remember liking it. The other, next one on the list is called You're Next. We have watched this one. It's a horror movie. I can't remember the actress's name, but basically, I remember it's somebody's walking around with a big old fat mask on and trying to kill, and she has its blood painted on the windows of the house, saying "You're next," and then she's having to escape the house or whatever. Um, it's a it's a good slasher film, but not necessarily one of those that always jumps in my head, and I'd forgotten about it being a kind of home invasion movie, but we did watch it one of our Octobers, I think. So,
Hmm.
um, next one on the list is Hush. We have not seen this one together. I watched it. I can't remember when I did, but it's really unique because the main actress or the main character, the female character that's in the house, is also deaf, and so she can't
Hmm.
hear the things. So the person that's breaking in and doing things, the audience knows it's happening. The audience could hear it, but the fact that she can't adds this layer of like excitement, fear, of thrillerness to
Intensity.
it. So intensity, yeah. Um, the next one we have seen together, and we've seen a couple in the series. It's called The Purge.
Yes.
So remember that one?
Yeah, oh yeah, I really like these. Just the premise. It's kind of like a zero violent America. And then one night only, everybody can commit whatever violence you want to, and it's okay. It's not, you can't be punishable by law. So it was really creepy. And then you just don't know who you can trust. And then you're trying to keep your house safe. But yeah, it was really intense.
Hmm. Absolutely. Ethan Hawke starred in the first one as the husband dad's character. They all lock down the whole house, and then of course people are trying to break in and kill them. And it's a lot smaller as the series progresses, and you get to the Purge anarchy and the Purge, election year. As it keeps going, it starts to widen its focus because it's like, hey, here's what else was going on a Purge night of this year. And then they actually did one that was called The Purge First Year One or something like that. The
Hmm.
First Purge, that's what it was, which was like a flashback episode to like the politicians that are trying to promote this idea and they get it passed, and then they're having the first purge, and then some are regretting that decision. And so it's an interesting series, and they actually even did a series, like a television
TV
series.
series.
I think it's got 2 seasons. I have it on our list as kind of like an October watch at some point. I heard pretty good things about it, but and I can't remember I think the last movie in the series was called, that we've gotten so far, is called The Forever Purge. So I don't know if that just means it's all like basically
We're going down.
no, everything's like that. There is no more one day of purge. It's like now we're living forever in the purge. So that sounds
Anarchy.
kind of scary. Um, Next one I have on the list is called Don't Breathe. This is another one where the these kids are breaking into this guy's house, and it's kind of like a reverse home invasion because the kids are getting in the house, but the dude living there is the one that's doing the violence, and he's blind. And so it's kind of like they're like, the reason it's called Don't Breathe is that he has extrasensory hearing. He can hear stronger because he's blind. It's kind of that whole myth of like how your senses. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but this movie kind of plays on that idea. And so they're trying to get out, but now they're trapped in his basement or his room or whatever, and they're trying to get out and not breathe, because if they breathe, he can hear it and find them. So interesting premise. There's 2 in that series. So yeah. Another one that we watched together was called When a Stranger Calls. We watched that one, actually. We watched the remake from like 2013 or something like that, or 2010. We watched that last year with Colton and Jacob. And that one's always a fun one. The original, I think, was like 1978 or 1977, and it's got one of the most famous lines in all of cinema that's repeated in a lot of different pop culture references. Do you remember the line? He's calling from inside the house. The call is
Oh,
coming from inside the house, right? It's like
nice.
that phrase gets used over and over and over again in other types of situations. And that's from that movie. And so, sorry, spoilers, but it's from the 1970s. So it's like 40 years
You
old.
should
So
know.
you should know. Um, Another one that does come to mind, The Last House on the Left. This one, there was a remake made recently with Jennifer Lawrence, but the original was directed by Wes Craven, who was the Nightmare on Elm Street guy, Scream, you know, really, really good horror director. And then he directed that one. I haven't seen the original, but I saw the Jennifer Lawrence remake, so I've got it on the list to watch
Yeah,
at
I
some
feel like
point.
I recall the cover of that one. Just it was kind of creepy looking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another one that we watched in the theaters that you were not a fan of was Black Christmas.
Yeah,
It's at a college campus. Remember that one?
yeah. It's just they're like on a college campus and it's Christmas and then it's kind of like, oh, there's a murderer loose and you're just trying to survive.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So
with a bunch of blood and yeah,
yeah,
it's just pretty
not
gory.
necessarily your favorite Christmas
No,
movies to watch, right? Like you'd rather watch
it's not
Elf. This
Elf.
is exactly.
Jinx.
Um, but there is an original. Like we watched one of the recent remakes, probably from 2018 or 19, like a fairly recent because it was in theaters when we saw it. But the one I have on the list is like the original. So it would be interesting to go back and watch that one just for the sake of the posterity of knowing this film because it's so popular. All right, we're going to talk about 3 more. There's more on the
I have
list.
one.
Okay, go ahead, go for it.
Home Alone.
Yes. Oh, that is so great. That is not on the list, but it's going to go on the
Yeah,
list now. That
because
is
it's
so
not a
perfect.
horror movie. It is a
Right.
fun, kid-friendly movie, but you know, you got the premise of you've got to what is he, like 7 or 8, and
Mm-hmm.
he is home alone because his parents forgot him on their trip, their Christmas trip. And then he's got these two invaders that were trying to come in, steal all their money. They don't realize that he's still there. Well, then they kind of start to get it, and it's just because it was a really fun movie to watch as a kid, but then also even see it now.
Yeah, that's still one that the boys like, which I think is great. Um, because it was one that we watched growing up. So, and that's one of the things that's interesting when we do these movies with the boys and we do the podcast is a lot of times the movies that we like, they aren't necessarily into. Um, and then the movies they like, we're like kind of like that was really a bad movie, right?
Yeah,
Like it's so it's interesting when it actually connects and actually works where the kids like a movie that we like. That doesn't happen very often. So yeah,
yeah,
that's a
that's a
great
fun one.
that's a great one. Good job.
I was trying to
Nice
think
work.
of others, but that was the main thing I could think of.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And I think the premise of that one is a great. It's a home invasion movie, but then it ends up being this somewhat like just amazing. Like I think of like the game Mousetrap, where you have to set all this kind of like cause and effect science experiments to make
Hmm.
you to it'll stop. It's everything's like a booby trap, and he sets the entire house as a booby trap. It's just great. Speaking of, in that movie, I know there's the Micro Machines cars that he steps on in one of the scenes that hurts his feet. I just saw a clip of the lady that won the Guinness World Book of Records for running 100 meters on Legos. Like they set out a
Ugh.
100-meter dash with Legos just covering the whole lane, and she ran it. It was a fairly small, it was a fairly long 100-meter. It wasn't a dash by any means.
Yeah,
It was but the premise I thought was pretty funny. How would you do with
she's a
that?
mom. She said, I do this in my sleep.
Yeah,
Literally.
exactly,
No,
exactly.
I don't. My feet are pretty sensitive. I don't think I
Yeah.
could handle that.
All right, so we're going to talk about three more. I said one of them is Us, Jordan Peele's Us. Remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What was your favorite kind of moments in that? Do you anything jump out?
Yes, I did like Us. I was really excited to see it in the theaters, and I feel like from the previews, it was really interesting. It was intriguing. It was like, what is this about? And then
Mm-hmm.
when we it kind of tripped me out a little bit when the kids started kind of like, and they started acting a
Mm-hmm.
little odd. Um, but the amount of rabbits that were in this one like area
Mm-hmm.
and then cages, and it just having kind of like an alter person, but they're the negative of you. It was just so creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The tether. Your tethered person. Yeah, definitely. One of course the best, like you said, the trailers, the best advertising campaign of all time with the "I've got five" on it, in the screechy violin. I mean, it was just like that was just so epic. That made me want to watch it without knowing anything about the movie.
Right.
Yes, I just hear that, and yes, I'm in. And of course, the main guy has the baseball bat and goes outside when he thinks there's somebody out there and says, "You want to?" What does he say?
You want to play?
Always
Let's
get
play.
crazy.
You
Always
get
get
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
If you want to get
Let's get
crazy,
crazy.
let's get
Let's get
crazy.
crazy.
It's just so great. And of course, like he is it's funny because even in that when they're listening to five on it on the way, you can tell that they're fairly, and I think this is part
Conservative.
of what the movie was about. It's very fairly conservative, fairly proper, fairly kind of white in the way that they're presenting themselves. And it's kind of like that's part of what the movie I think is commenting on is that many times we have to get rid of the things that make us a certain way in order to survive in society. So in this movie, they're trying to, but it's also, they're always there. That part of you is always there. And being able to kind of find the balance between the two, where you're not feeling like you have to cut a part of yourself away in order to survive. So I think that's a lot of what Us is about. And that
Hmm.
he said in the kind of Jordan Peele said it's kind of like you're your own worst enemy at times. And so that was kind of in the promotions of it. I can relate to that, not of course with race. I'm a privileged white dude, but I could definitely relate to that in other capacities where you have to, you can't be your full self because you've got to um, connect within this meeting and this group, and you don't want to like cause things to make you don't want to make a mess of the situation.
Yeah, and I get that. It's kind of like you have to conform to fit into sort of be like a chameleon, but to
Mm-hmm.
I think it's still very important to be who you are, be true to that, so that you don't lose yourself in the process.
Yeah,
Words of
very good.
wisdom.
That's right. I know one guy told me not to lose myself, and
Hmm.
who's
Eminem?
that guy?
Yeah.
All right, the next one is going to be a weird one. It's called Martyrs, and we watched it last year. They're in their house, and people come in and kidnap them and then like torture them. It was the one that was really gory and gruesome. But I would not recommend this one to those that are faint of heart. But there was, I mean, I remember the one scene where the family's just sitting down to dinner and the people come in and they just shoot the dad in the head or whatever and shoot the kids and all that stuff. It's just like really gruesome, really gruesome. But it's also it's a societal thing. It's kind of similar to like a Purge or an Us, where it's the movie is commenting on something in real society, but it's using this kind of torture gore as a way of kind of saying something more. So um, cool. And the last one, I think I didn't necessarily put this in the home invasion category, but there is moments in it that I think at the end it ends up being someone's trying to break into the house, and that is Fear with Mark
Mm,
Wahlberg. I know this is one that you liked when you saw
yeah.
it the first time. Kind of what stood out to you about it?
The bad boy. No. It was it was just creepy, and you've got this good girl, and I think how she's kind of Reese Witherspoon, she's in this growing up form of phase of her life, and so she's into this guy but then realizes, well, he's kind of a bad guy, and I'm dad, why are you so prude? And then just kind of the flip where she starts to realize, no, wait, he is not good, and he's going past limits that I'm okay with, and then putting the whole family in danger. So it was just pretty creepy, but it was like a slow burn, so it didn't just jump right out into it.
Yeah, he's. I mean, it's. I don't know. Mark Wahlberg has his ups and his downs in his acting ability. But I think this one might have been his first movie. I know that was the first one I recall him being in that was promoted. He might have done some other stuff that was like low budget and not very good, but I know this one was highly promoted. And he was playing the nice guy really, really well in front of the parents. But the
Hmm.
dad knew this is an act. But the daughter didn't know. Like he's nice, he's nice. So definitely one of those. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of others on the list, but I won't go through all of them. But those are actually the ones that we've seen. Most of them we've seen together, so that's
Hmm.
fun. All right, so let's jump into the movies now. The Strangers series, and I think what's interesting about this one in particular is we got the Strangers Pray at Night, and then we get the Strangers Chapter One, partly because of the events that happen in Strangers Pray at Night, right? Um, and so I'm not exactly sure, honestly, like where the timeline is, if it's a remake or not. Like it's interesting. But we've got a chapter two coming out Friday, so that seems like it's doing a direct sequel type situation where the other two were not necessarily connected. It was just two random nights that this group did this. So we'll see. But the first one came out in 2008, directed by Brian Bertino, written by Brian Bertino, and stars Scott Speedman and Aerosmith's lead singer's daughter, Liv Tyler. Of course, she got her start in a couple of Aerosmith videos, but then I know her most from Armageddon.
Armageddon,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, absolutely. 2008 was also when Incredible Hulk came out with Edward Norton, so she plays his love interest in that, and then she ends up coming back to the Marvel Universe for the first time since 2008 in Brave New World that dropped in February. So she's not been doing a whole lot of acting, but 2008 she did a big budget Incredible Hulk, and now this low budget The Strangers. Main idea is that they're a couple dealing with some relationship issues. They show up at a house that he was going to propose at, and he's got all the flowers and everything, but you can tell when they get out of the car they're not on good terms. They just spent some time at another person's wedding, and obviously something happened that disrupted their happy ending for this night where he was hoping to propose, and then they were all going to be in champagne and all that stuff. But when the movie kicks off, you already know that's not going to happen. And then while they're there, they get a knock at the door, and this becomes the staple Strangers premise and setup is girl comes up and knocks and says,
Hello, is Tamara home?
yeah, is Tamara home? And they're like, no, you have the wrong house. Are you sure? Yeah, okay. And then she walks away, but it's a little creepy because you can't see her face. So that ends up being the thing that they introduce in each movie. That's how they start their tormenting of this, whoever it is that they're going to torment. But over the course of the night, a bunch of different things happen. 3 masked strangers. We've got Scarecrow, as I said before. He's the man in the mask. It's a really great looking mask. Like even in the first movie, it's just like, that's a great look. That's a great Halloween costume.
It's
It's just got
scary.
it's got a nice scary look to it. And then the other 2 are dressed with just like plastic, like Halloween costume masks. One's a doll
Right,
face
like
and
you
one's a
think
pinup girl.
back in the 70s, like you just put on a dress or a shirt or whatever, and then that's your costume is this.
Yeah, plastic mask, little piece of trash. But they use that to mask themselves and then torment this couple. It's a slow burn, like you were saying before. Slow burn, very long. Spoilers. We're going to talk a little bit about some things that happen. The the friend, they call the friend to come help them out because they can't get out of the house. The car is busted, the tires are dead, the truck,
The
they drove
phones
the
are
truck into
gone.
it, the phones are gone. Like they finally get a chance to call a friend, and then he ends up showing up, and then they end up shooting him thinking he's the bad guy. So it's just a couple of really cool twists at the end of the movie. They're tied up, and this again, another iconic line similar to what I would say is like the call is coming from inside the house. Another great line from a film, which is, why are you doing this? And they say, you were home. Like that's the scariest premise. And that line isn't until the very end of the movie. And it's just a great idea. Unfortunately, it seems like this was based on actual events, which is very
Even
like
scarier.
even scarier and sad that this happens to people. Um, but yeah, there's some good scares. There's some lot of tension. It's not the best movie ever made by any stretch of the imagination, but it definitely was. It kept you engaged, and it just it was definitely scary as the folks came in and started doing stuff. So, what are
Yeah, I
some of your
agree.
thoughts?
I think when the main girl's name is Kristen, she was the boyfriend had left. He had gone to get cigarettes, and so she was in the house, and she kind of stopped and took a drink of water. She was like, "I need to calm down." Then, as she's facing away, the masked scarecrow mask guy comes up and he's watching her. And it's just very much like he doesn't really come after them as in a scary, like, "Arr!" It's more of just that silent killer. Like he's just up, okay, then you just look away and then he's not there anymore. So I feel like the ladies did more of the aggressive killing, and then he was more of just kind of overshadowing. So a few of the things that kind of like, come on, where she ran out of the house. I understand she was trying to get away, but she didn't. She is not familiar with this area, and it's all wooded. You're probably going to get hurt, and she did roll her ankle. But I also understand not wanting to stay in the house either, because you're like, they're in the house, and I'm trying to get away. So, um, just a few of those things. It's kind of like you would want to, well, what would I do in this situation? But honestly, until any of us have been in that situation, we're not going to know. So I think that Liv Tyler did a great job with her acting. I think that like her character was very believable the whole time, actually. And even Scott Speedman, I know that he's been in a few of the 90s, like late 90s, early 2000s movies. He did a great job too. I was really impressed with that. I think it was just kind of slow moving for what we like. But overall, I think the movie was really well done.
Yeah, that's great. I agree. Lots of fun. If you haven't seen it, definitely see it. We kind of spoiled some of it for you, but it doesn't stop it from being scary, and it doesn't stop you from being shocked, even when you know it's coming. Yeah, I was going to mention that I think the most iconic, other than the line, I think the line is one of the most iconic moments. But the other one is when she's standing there, and you see him in the background of the house, like in the other room, stepping out. And I think they did that a couple times where you kind of see him stepping in and stepping out, and then they finally begin attacking. So yeah, it's good stuff. There was also the record player got played, and it was some country song, and just kind of started looping as they were attacking because it got bumped. That became just eerie and creepy over the course of the scene. And all the writing on the windows, that became, those shock value without a jump scare. Yeah, cool. So what would you rate The Strangers?
Um, do we have to do whole numbers?
Yeah, 1 through 5. It's stars, so you could do
Oh
halves.
yeah. I would give it 2.5 because I feel like it's got potential to be better than it was. I think if it kind of maybe was condensed in a little bit and a little bit faster moving, but maybe that's really how it was for that couple. I don't know. But yeah, 2.5.
Yeah, I mean, I can get that. I actually gave it a 4, so I gave it a pretty high number. I think because I've watched it a few times and it still holds up as far as being scary. And if I was gonna, I think it's a scary premise and it holds up, that way too. It's not a 4.5, it's not a 5, so it's not the best movie out there, but yeah, it grabs my attention. So that was The Strangers, 2008. 10 years later, we get The Strangers Pray at Night, and they're praying after you, not praying. This one it definitely steps up the action and the thriller aspect of it. The first one was a slow burn. This one's a little bit more running around. There's a little more things. There's definitely more houses that they attack. It ends up being in a mobile home. It actually starts with a following of like a horror movie trope, which is where we're going to get one kill out of the way, kind of introduce the villains, and then we're going to introduce you to the characters we're going to stay with for the rest of the movie. And while they're trying to outrun this villain that's going to attack them halfway through the movie or whatever. So it kind of followed a little bit more of a slasher film story arc than the first one did, but the first one was just kind of a slow burn introducing you to that experience. This one basically keeps up with a family of 4 that stops by relatives' mobile home. They're trying to stop there. They're staying in the second mobile home that this couple has, their aunt and uncle, but they can't get in touch with the aunt and uncle. The daughter's about to go to boarding school, so this is her last trip together, and she's not happy about it because she doesn't want to go. But they're like, too many behavioral issues. We find out some stuff about why that might be, but there's also just like, teenage drama, right? It's just teenagers being teenagers, and kind of get that. And then they end up leaving the mobile home. The son and daughter do, and they end up going to the aunt and uncle's trailer and finding them mutilated and dead. And then they hear that there's a message from their mom on the tape player, on the an-
Voicemail?
answer, answering machine.
Answering
There
machine.
it is.
Come on, we're kids of the 90s. Like, we
I know
should
we
know
should have
this.
known that. And they realized that these guys have been waiting for them to come because they knew they were coming. And so from that point, it kind of follows a little bit of the same that we got in the first movie. Um, the girl, the pin Dollface, shows up at the front door and says,
Is Tamara home?
"Yep," and they say, "No, you must have the wrong house." So then they end up standing in fields and knocking on doors and then banging on doors, and cell phones get destroyed. all that stuff happens. So
Lots of
kind of follows,
running.
yeah, lots of running, hiding under the crawl spaces of the trailer park. So the daughter hides there. The son ends up going and being able to, I think, kill one of the guys, but then he ended up getting killed by, and that was actually in the pool, which was another cool dynamic of just giving you a little bit more, like I said, action, a little bit more going on in this one. It changes of scenery, whereas the first one was it was a house in the backyard, basically, is what you kind of dealt with. So a little bit more stylized. 80s music hits. Total Eclipse of Heart is playing in that pool fight scene. So it's just kind of eerie slasher vibe. It's a lot more slasher than House Invasion, if that makes sense.
Because you don't, I feel like you don't feel confined into one specific area. So it's like, yes, it's the same killers, but they aren't stuck in this trailer house. They're able to get out. And so it's more of like you said, a slasher. It's a cat and mouse chase.
Yeah, yeah, they get away for a couple times and then they're found out. The interesting thing about this one too is that you get to the end and they actually have killed Pinup Girl and Dollface, and then the parents have died, the son has died, and the daughter's like the final girl. So this is like your typical slasher ending. Scarecrow is chasing after her and ends up being able to beat him off the back of the truck with a baseball bat and getting away. And she's in the hospital at the end of the movie, but then she hears a big banging and knock on the door. And so it cuts to black. So it's also doing that slasher film trope of the killer's not dead and you're still got to be scared. And then it cuts to black and we leave it, energized and stoked after the film. What are some of the things that stand out to you about this one?
I felt like there was a lot more heart between like the daughter and the mom relationship, a lot of interaction between the two siblings, so the son and daughter. Um, just because the daughter knew she was going to leave, and I think she started to feel guilty for her decision she'd made, but she kind of understood she had to go. So I think towards where she was in survival mode, that was she really started feeling for her parents like my parents love me. This is why they are doing all this stuff to keep me safe. So I need to survive. And it was just also that twist with the pool that was interesting. But I thought it was a good movie. It was more entertaining than the first one. But yeah, like you said, it's just not being confined.
I think you brought up a good point with the relationships because I think the relationships make it interesting. The first movie was a little bit depressing because we showed up and they're in a bad place. Like the couple does not want to be together anymore, or they do, but they're like, it's like, this is, so you're kind of in this state of like, oh. And while this one had the daughter that was upset, it still was a family of four, and you could relate to the family dynamic of the situation and the father trying to be this and trying to, and there's this, that's just normal kind of movie storytelling stuff that we can all relate to, that made it feel, like you said, have more heart, made us connect to the characters more. Um, and they could go on a journey, an emotional journey. Like you said, they can go from being like super mad to being like, no, my parents love me. So I think that, and having that family dynamic, them walking in the park together and trying to connect and talking, you got some of those moments that really were a little bit more uplifting than the other one, which was all the conversation was like a downer. And because I think it gave you that more slasher film vibe, there's a little bit more energy to it. And so
Mhm.
it moves a little bit more swiftly through the story, and uh, still had a lot of the same items, that we heard in the first one. So it's showing you these characters and the way that they operate. Is Tamara home? And then also she's asked again, why are you doing this? This time the answer is why not, as opposed to the you were home. So there's a little bit, maybe a scarier, like even more scary response. I think they were trying to go for even a more scary response than you were home. Just said, why not? This is what I do with my life. I think when you look at like the main scenes, the pool fight scene was one of the best. It was a great scene there. I think the whole final girl, the fact that she had to face the scarecrow at the end and defeat him, was a very slasher film. Jason and others Halloween vibes there, with the girl finally defeating him and being in the hospital, and then a final scare, right? So it just had a little bit more energy to it, a little bit more approachable, more
Relatable.
marketable, relatable, all that stuff. So yeah, but overall I enjoyed it. What would you rate it?
I give it a 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually gave this one a 4 also. So
Wow.
I guess I just I like the vibe of
Feeling
these movies.
generous.
I know, I don't know. I just like this is I surprise myself sometimes with my ratings, but I had to because I rate it right after watching it, and right after
Hmm.
watching it, I'm feeling like this was this was fun. I'd do this again, you know.
Yeah.
I think now looking back, I might give both of them a 3.5 or something like that, but at the time, the 4 seemed reasonable. So, all right, we get uh, 6 years later now, we get another sequel, and this one looks like it's a reboot. It's a reboot of the story. So we're going chapter 1. The new one that's coming out Friday is what I already said, chapter 2. So it's a continuation of the story. This one definitely more modern, 2024. We've got more modern storytelling, modern cameras, and it's cleaner looking. It's not like kind of the indie film vibe of the first one.
Hmm.
We're getting more commercialized with this one. I remember when this one came out, and I wanted to go see it, but just never made it to it. But we watched it recently for this podcast, actually. So there's a couple of Maya and Ryan. Actually, it starts again with another kill, a random kill in the very first scene, and then it cuts to where we meet our main characters, Maya and Ryan. They're on a road trip across country. They stop in a tiny town, which is not great when you're talking about slasher films. There's always creepos in those towns. Car breaks down, of course. They end up having to get an Airbnb. The waitress at the local restaurant, dive restaurant, tells them, "Hey, you can get an Airbnb down the road." So they get the Airbnb, and then from that point, now we're introducing their arc villains again, and go through some of the same ideas of the masked stranger showing up. Is tomorrow home?
Hmm.
That whole vibe. They actually, after the first encounter, he gets on the motorcycle and goes to try and see if the car is ready. It's not. He gets doesn't go well that way, so he makes his way back. They decide they're going to leave with the motorcycle, and then Scarecrow blows up the motorcycle. There's a lot more explosions in this one, a lot more
Yeah.
action in this one too. It kind of steps it up even more than the Prey at Night. But it's got some great pacing. There's lots of scares, and drops hint that there might be more than just random violence from these killers this time. So we'll probably have to see for the next 2 chapters, because it looks like there's a chapter 2 and a chapter 3 planned for this one. So
Hmm.
um, yeah, that's kind of the plot of the movie. What are your thoughts? What do you remember from it?
Yeah. I thought it was really interesting how the couple, when they came to the small town, you could see how different they were from the normal townies. And so, sometimes we feel like that. You go road tripping and you're going through these little towns or even big towns, but you feel like you don't fit in. But the way that they were kind of looking at them funny, just kind of put you on edge a little bit. And then, of course, oh, I know a guy who has a place you can stay at. And it's kind of like, well, that's convenient.
Mm-hmm.
But, you're thinking they're just being kind and doing the right thing. So, um, yeah, I thought the acting was good. It was a little cheesy, but I feel like it kind of picked up speed as they got to the house, and then some of the horror things were going on. Um, the motorcycle going to get check on the car, that was a really good kind of escape from the house to a different scene. So that was
Mm-hmm.
interesting. Um, but then just the finishing of it, the way it
Yeah.
ended was pretty cool.
Yeah, the she gets away, and then ends up well, she's stabbed, and we don't know where the killers went, and then she wakes up in the hospital, and Scarecrow is sitting next to her or laying next to her. So big cliffhanger, just great sequel bait, you know. So lots of fun. I will have to say I do dig the series. I dig these characters as being kind of a slasher trope. Um, they're scary, they're creepy, and um, the way that each of the movies has this slow burn in it. Some a little slower than others, but they all have that familiarity when you're watching it. You're like, yes, I remember this is going to happen again, but
Yes.
I'm not like turned off by that. It feels like natural, and it's just like, how are they going to, torture this
Portrayal.
couple or whatever? Yeah, how are they going
It
to do
reminds
this?
makes me think of like Fast and Furious. Okay, we know there's going to be cars. We know that there's going to be, loud music and rap and whatnot. But what about this one is different than the others?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think that each story was unique. It wasn't like the characters were tied in together. It was all very separate, except
Mm-hmm.
for the villains.
Yeah. I think that when they get to Strangers Chapter 13, Houston, we have a problem because they're in space. Shout out to our Tom Hanks episode from just last week in preparation for Apollo 13. So hope you got
Yay!
a chance to see Apollo 13 in the theaters last weekend. One of the greatest movies of all time.
Love it.
So that was my little Apollo 13, Strangers 13 reference. It's just a dad joke, but it works in my head. Cool. Well, so what do you rate this one?
I give this a 3 as well.
Okay. Man, you're the critic in this series. I don't mind. I
I
like it. I'm
know.
here for it. It's good. Because I'm just over here fanboying over here, But yeah, I mean, I give it a 3.5 or 4. Like, I think I enjoyed the story and the fact that it was a kind of a reboot, but not going back to the way that the original story was told. It's kind of like, hey, let's try this again.
Mhm.
Let's start over and see if we can have some fun with these characters, these slasher characters again. So I enjoyed it. That was in 2024, and this new one's just 1 year later, 2025. Pretty crazy, but
Yeah, I'm looking
awesome.
forward to seeing what it's about, and we may
Yeah,
like it.
yeah. I haven't even seen a trailer for it,
I haven't either.
so hopefully it's still coming out.
Otherwise, here we go, you guys. You get just all about the strangers.
Yes, fun times. Hey, don't forget, guys, to check out the live broadcast we did a couple weeks ago. It was a lot of fun. Like I said at the beginning, we had a lot of drops in that, a lot of upcoming things in that. So you can always follow us on Instagram and all that too. But for this episode in particular, I did create a special letterbox list for you. Like I said before, movies that make you check the locks because you're going to be scared when you watch these movies. You want to make sure the locks are locked and makes you charge your phone. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying like they're digital locks nowadays.
Oh, good
It's
point.
not just this lock. It's like you,
Yeah, just check your locks. You don't have to get up from your chair. Just get your, yeah, awesome. Well, thanks everybody. Thank you, Kristen, for joining us.
of
And
course.
we'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye, guys.
Thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Again, you can check out all of our links at bio.site/movies that make you. Feel free to drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. So until next time, keep watching movies.